What's up, everybody? It's Simon from Lake Hub. Today we're doing a book review. So find your favorite reading corner, cozy up, and let's take a look at a fishing atlas. That's right. This is a Sportsman's Connection fishing atlas. They just released a bunch of Texas atlases. Atli? What's the plural of atlas? I'm going to go with atlases. Here we go. So we've got West Texas, West DFW Metro, East DFW Metro, Hill Country / South, and then East Texas. And so I find myself in this happy little area right here, Lakes and Prairie Land. And so I got myself a West Metro map. First of all, wow, this is big. It's bigger than I thought it was. I didn't look at the dimensions, to be honest. But that makes it really handy. I mean, when you have an atlas is going to be detailed and it's good to be big. So this isn't practical for taking on the boat, but it's practical for planning and for taking with you. It also has this kind of waterproof, I don't know, UV coating or whatever you might call that on the front with a big spiral binding. It's almost an inch thick. So there's a lot of information here. I can see why they had to split the state up into so many different territories. So this one has 41 lakes and rivers, probably about a dozen, quick look here, yeah, a dozen or so major lakes, major, notable lakes. A lot of which are in our Lake Hub network. So it's kind of cool to compare the information that we have on our websites with the information that's in the books. So it starts off with, of course, a map of all the states or all the lakes that are in the book. We've got all the species, a little bit about each one, which is kind of cool because, you know a lot about the top 5 or top 10 species maybe, but there's some other kind of funky, like carp and then like bait fish, like shad and stuff. There's a couple different types of shad. Didn't know that, so it's kind of cool to learn about different species that I've never even seen, like a bowfin. And then we've got some kind of basic tackle, which is kind of nice. Maybe you learned something that you didn't know before. I haven't read through this whole section yet. I'll tell you what I have done in a moment. We've got some basic knots, which is a handy resource to have on hand. Of course, once again, you're not going to be packing this while you're out fishing, so it's more of a planning deal. And then we've got tips and techniques. So for different species, kind of tips and techniques and stuff. And then we get into the good stuff. We get into the maps. Yeah. So we have it split out by section, I think. Let's see here. No, on the back. Here we go. So whenever you need to look up a lake or a river, you just flip to the back cover here. We've got the whole thing, and then we've got a list in alphabetical order, so you can know exactly what page to flip to. And so each one's got a table of access points, a bunch of information about the seasonality of it, and kind of tips and tricks and where to go, what different places that are actually marked on the map, like spot number 4 and spot number 9. And you can actually look these up. Here's spot number 9 right here. I just happened to find it right away, right on this downslope from an island. It's a good fishing spot. It's always going to be a good fishing spot when you have a steep downslope like that. So I can see why. So there's a lot of intel. There's usually some pictures, a lot of charts and graphs about stocking history, which is really cool. Lake records, all kinds of really deep, like just nerdy information. I love it. So the species that are here, limits, of course that can change and stuff, but a lot of this stuff is going to be pretty evergreen. And then we get to the map. Oh, this is gorgeous. I love a good topo map, don't you? It just tells you a whole story. You can see the river bottom, the creek bottom, like before the lake was made, where it meandered, so those are all going to be good spots. Which bays are shallow, which bays are steep. That's going to tell you, probably some good spots to go catch some bait, and which spots are better to fish, which points are steep, which sides of which points are steep. So this is just really cool. And then of course there's all the public parks, right? And if there's a state park, like there's a state park right here, then we've got some camping, we've got a boat ramp, and we've got all our boat ramps on here. There's one here and here, there's one here, and I'll tell you a little story about that. So the first trip that I planned with this atlas was to Lake Whitney. So we were planning a trip to Lake Whitney, Chris and I, taking the boat out, gonna go explore, chase some striper. And so I had just got this. I'm like, all right, it's my shiny new toy. Let's use this to plan our trip. And so we found, I read the whole, deal about where the striper go and like what time of year and all that kind of stuff, what the patterns are. And we found a couple good spots we wanted to fish. We found a boat ramp that was quick enough access off the highway and would be a straight line straight to where we wanted to fish without having to go the whole length of the lake. And so we were like, all right, we've got our plan. We show up. Oh yeah, it's been raining for a month. The lake is like 5 feet high and half the boat ramps are closed. The entire state park was closed. It was a mess. Some of the marinas had just opened like the day before. And so we were able to get the boat in the water eventually. So the only downside besides, having to buy 2 different books just to cover like the whole Metroplex. I know the Metroplex is big, but that's just my own personal thing. I know there's a lot of lakes. It's lakes in Prairie Land. There's a lot of lakes. That's just kind of a pet peeve. That's not really a knock against the book. And this really isn't a knock against the book either, but this isn't real-time data. That's not a Sportsman's Connection problem. That's a book problem. So that's where our network of websites and social media pages comes in handy, because things are going to happen. Boat ramps are going to erode, have to be repaired, need to be closed or whatever. The lake level is going to be high some years. The lake level is going to be low other years. You can check the lake level on every single one of our websites /level. So that's where you need to stay up to date, is double check on the websites. But this is also a really good guide for like I said, planning your route on the water. There are restrooms here marked out and things like that. So if you want to camp and boat, you're looking at, okay, well, back here it's really shallow. We want to camp, boat, and fish, or we want to camp, boat, and tube, or we want to find, there's a lot of vacation rentals down here. I'm just guessing. I'm just, just for example. And so we want to find a rental with the boat ramp and, a slip, and we want to do so. My point is, this allows you to get the big picture, be able to plan out what part of the lake you want to visit, and maximize your experience on the lake. And then double check that information against real-time data on the websites. And then you're sure to have a good trip, instead of fumbling around trying to find a boat ramp that's open last second like we did. But all in all, I mean, this was a great buy. This is about $25, I think. Well worth all the information that's in here. This is going to be one of those things where I'm going to use this for years and years and years. This is really good data. A lot of this stuff is not going to change. The parks are not going to change. The boat ramps probably aren't going to change. So it's really great. This is a really great resource. I really recommend it. Check them out. I'll put a link down below. We love our lakes. We'll see you out on the water.